What language do you speak to yourself? And no, I don't mean if you dream in English or in Mandarin or in French. I mean, what are the words that you speak to yourself? What is your inner dialogue? And how do you respond to yourself with actions and through creative endeavors? How do you come to understand things, not just intellectually with your mind, but as integrated and embodied choices in life? With the world at our feet and the phone in our hands, it is so easy to escape or to reduce ourselves to metrics and data points, to claim we know things while at the same time surpassing every instinct and inner signal, to run on the surface instead of touching the depth and slowing down enough to converse with our processes and really learn from them. I know slowing down can have this both provocative and relieving ring to it. It somehow forces us to sense and see ourselves. So if you have come here today feeling a little bit tired, like, "Ugh, I don't actually want to self-reflect or hold a mirror up in front of myself," I see you. And maybe instead of listening to this episode, ask yourself, what is the most compassionate choice I can make for myself in this moment? And the answer might be to press pause and do something else. And if you are keeping Michelle and I company through our meandering process of exploring our healing and growth through the lens of creative practices, breath, and conversation, you're invited to take a breath too. Lean in with curiosity. We might not offer answers, but you can always listen to the resonance within and see where that takes you. We checked in a little, but
Yeah.
what's giving you a sense of breath this week?
Ooh, what's giving me a sense of breath? Um, hmm. This weekend was the first weekend that I can remember that I didn't have to work, which is a pretty big deal for me. I didn't have to, and I chose not to.
Ooh.
So I was actually supposed to. And at the same time, it was like the first weekend in almost a year that my partner also was away. And so I was home alone with my dog, of course.
Mm.
Never fully home alone. But I didn't really know what to do with myself. It was such a luxurious thing. And I was
Mm.
like, there was a part of me that was thinking like, oh, I got to fill this time with like all the things I love to create and everything I feel like I don't have time for that now I have time for. And
Mm.
it was one of the laziest weekends I've had in so long. I was binge watching. I don't I don't know if you've heard probably binge watching things that people don't binge watch. But I don't know if you've heard about NDEs or near death experiences.
Do
Okay.
tell me all about it.
Well, listen. This is something I've been diving into. There was this TV series. It might have been a Netflix series called The OA.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever hear about that one?
No.
This was back in like 2018, 2019-ish that it came out. And I don't want to spoil it because even if I told you what the OA standard for or stood for, that would give away so much. But there is a premise of like having these near death experiences within it. And it's not, quote unquote, based on a true story or anything, but it's very, very interesting. And so that kind of started my interest in this topic back
Mm-hmm.
then. And then it's just kind of fallen away. It's come back, it's fallen away. And then a couple of years ago, I found a YouTube channel that was all based on people's stories of near-death experiences.
Ooh, that
And I
sounds like
was just
rabbit
like,
hole.
so like, goodbye, world. I was so in it. And like every story like moved me to tears and in the most beautiful way. And there is a podcast called Breakthrough by Mayim Bialik, I think her last name
Mhm.
is. And the past few episodes, they've been really diving into this. And it's really cool because she has a PhD in neuroscience, I think. And so it's really interesting. Her and the person that she has the podcast with, he is more into the spiritual realm and quantum healing. And the way they both come up with questions to ask somebody who has studied near death experiences for years and years, or people who've had them, or talking about, speaking to the afterlife or whatever it is. And so I went down a rabbit hole of her podcast and just absorbed. Probably not digested too much, but it was like storytelling. And it's like
Mm.
almost listening to a really good book of people's different near death experiences. And that really, I don't know, something about that really filled me up and inspired me, which sounds crazy because it's a near death experience.
Yeah, but
But the
th-
stories and like, I don't know, I can highly suggest it. Have you ever listened to the telepathy tapes or
oh, I
telepathy
have
tapes?
it on my list. I've been on very low consumption of anything this
Okay.
year, actually, but it's been like popping into my radar from a lot of places. So
Yeah.
there's going to be a moment
There's
when
a
I
little
dive in.
crossover between those two podcasts, at
Mm.
least the Breakthrough podcast's current season,
Mm.
and that one. And I know we just talked about like less consumption. So not to give anyone more things to consume. But I don't know why that's what came up when you asked the question that you asked, which I can't remember.
Yeah, what gives you breath? But it's interesting because I've been binge listening to this, the Court of Thorns and Roses series.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
been listening to it in audio and not watching TV or anything, just kind of having it in my ears. And I was reflecting on it. It was really something. There are those periods. I don't know how it is for you, but for me, where I feel like I just kind of immerse myself in stories. I think stories
Mm-mm.
is the word that stood out for me.
Yeah.
And there's something about just getting lost in them. It's not dissociation. It's just like,
No.
I don't know. I don't know what happens there
Yeah.
when you just like, oh, wow. And there's this wonder. And then there are all these nuggets of dynamics and things that you see that you're observing in your life. And like, oh, that's what that is. And I'm just floating in the stories.
Yeah.
And I can get that. I also feel like it gives me breath and
Mm.
kind of, there's some rest in that.
Yeah. Especially as I think you and I are both, I mean, I'll talk about myself. I'm a little bit of a nerd. And so I love to dive into like how things work and why things work and all the self-help books you could have. I probably have in my upstairs bookcase. And so it's nice to dive into story, whether it's, I guess, what are they calling that? Fairy smut.
Yeah.
I'm one book
All the
down.
fairies and witches.
Or like other people's stories. It's like
Mm,
it almost feels like when you're listening to someone's really good story, like a conversation between two people, and when you feel like you're really there with them, it's it feels like another layer of being in community when you're not really
mm,
there. Yeah.
yeah.
So I feel like stories give that to me a really good poem or a really good essay.
Yes.
I love long form. So long form listening, long form reading, I'm here for it.
Mm. What about it?
What's coming up is something about like the length. We're so obsessed with quick things. We have, the classic, we have this amazing way to connect. You and I are in two different places and connecting, seeing each other, speaking to each other as if we're in the same room.
Mm,
And the moment our Wi-Fi goes down, we're like, what's happening? Or the moment our thing, like something is a little bit slower than instant, we're like, what is happening? And so anything that gets me to slow down, which to me is like a long, good story or conversation, um, I don't know, feeds me
Mm,
in a way that, I can also be fed by quick things or short things that make me really think.
yeah.
Also slow me down in a different way, like a quote that really hits the heart.
Mm,
That's good. Um, but there's something about the slowing down aspect, that
yeah.
really good essay or conversation can offer.
I love that. Something that came up for me as you were talking about it, and that I feel is true for me across poetry, which is also often shorter,
Mhm.
but the long form is that it allows for complexity
Oh, yeah.
in a way that I find soothing almost.
Mhm.
I've there's something of course, I agree with you. Sometimes it's nice to get short and snappy and it's nice and you kind of, oh, it hits you in a way, but I feel like the long form and the poetry and those things, they, like, permeate me. They kind of seep
Mhm.
in, and I'm like, "Ooh, okay," and it does something in a completely different way. I feel like a lot of the short stuff is like a stop sign,
For sure.
and you kind of stop, and you're like, "Ooh, and that's interesting," and it's like an egg in the basket, but the other stuff is like watering,
Yeah. Ooh,
and
I love that.
it just, it does something different.
Mhm.
I've seen that too also in the years I've been facilitating also more creative
Mhm.
or innovative thought, or even if it's been in strategy, we have this tendency to want to skip the process.
Oh, yeah.
Or like skip the path of getting to a conclusion. And I think that's what I like about those things is that you're kind of seeing it through. You're like, oh, okay, and here's how you're getting there. And
Mhm.
that's what I like about podcasts too, that
Yeah.
you get to actually listen to a process and not just like the 2-minute extract that is like, ooh, this is the punch in the stomach. Yeah, great. But
Mhm.
there is so much that came before it that made that moment mean something.
Right. There's so much that led up to it.
Yeah. So I really resonate with that. That just the space for the process and the complexity and
Mhm. And I
yeah.
like to make time for it.
Mm.
To read something or to listen to a long conversation or whatever it is, like, to create art, you have to make time for it.
That's something I think you share a lot in your socials, like sewing and doing creative things, and especially doing things with your hands.
Mhm.
Tell me more about that because I think that's it just I don't know, when you said making time for it, it immediately made me think of, like, when you take something in your hands, you can't be anywhere else.
Uh,
How do you
mm,
I feel like there's so much reluctance in this world to do that. How do you how do you do it?
yeah. Put the phone down. Get the phone out of your hands and grab a pen or, I don't know, go touch grass. I think the
Mm.
biggest thing, and I don't know where we talked about that, it might have been in the emails leading up to this, of like how did you write it? That we're navel gazing, or I don't remember what you said about so good. Or like constantly looking down.
Mm,
But it's often like constantly looking at a screen or there's something else that's already in our hands. And as you've heard me say, as you've probably heard from so many different wisdom traditions, the hands are an extension to the heart.
mm.
The most gentle ways I think we can get to the heart is by using our hands. And when our hands are constantly with a device in it, I wonder what that does to our heart.
Oh, I got goosebumps when you said that, yes.
Yeah, it's such a quick connection there. Like, especially when these energetic things and we're working with the meridian lines and they're energetic things and consuming just by holding it.
Mm,
And so, I mean, I'm not a saint at it. I'm also on my phone. I live in this modern world. But I shared this with you when we met up last, but I moved through a lot of grief. I moved through so many high highs and low lows this spring.
mm,
And it was, had I had known ahead of time, I'm like, okay, I think I would have dove into my breathwork practice because that's helped me with, I mean, I might be biased, but it helped me with everything in my life. That and like a couple of good friend phone calls is like the best.
Yeah.
But I went so far away from my breathwork practice during this. Like I
Mm,
didn't want to do it. I didn't want to touch it. And it wasn't like I was allergic to it. It just wasn't, it was so clear it wasn't the medicine I needed,
mm,
or at least like the most potent dose of medicine that I needed. Um, and so I kind of went back to what I always did. My mom's always used her hands. My dad always uses his. I don't think they would call themselves creative, but they're so very creative. And I learned, I think, just by osmosis. Is that the right word? Absorbed watching them move with their hands. My mom and dad never sat down, better or worse. And,
mm,
and so I went back to what I know makes me feel good, which is creating something, especially something from start to finish. Or like watching myself like mold this clay that comes out of a little package into
mm,
something that I don't know, I destroyed and then, tried to create again.
mm,
Or to make something from scratch, to go to the fabric store and pick out a fabric that feels really good, to find a pattern that I like, and to just pour my whole being, hands included, into creating something for me.
yeah.
I'm gonna wear that. I'm gonna use it. But I'm so my love language is to create for other people.
Mm,
I love to create spaces and opportunities and like environments, whether it's like work or life, food. Ugh, I love making good food for people. And this was really an opportunity to make something for myself.
mm,
Yeah. Something about that and using my hands really just brought me back into my body and let me process things uh, in a way that I couldn't just sit with what I was moving through.
yeah.
I needed to do something, quote unquote, like productive, but
Mm,
creative, that helped my body kind of process something, if that
mm,
makes sense. To be very somatic and artistic at the same time, because you need your body when you're sewing. It's like up and down, cutting, uh, sewing, up and down, up.
mm,
And down. It's not just a lot of sitting at the sewing machine. There's so many other moving pieces to it. And I for lack of a better phrase, I got lost in it, but just in the best way. It's like
mm,
getting quote unquote lost in a good novel.
mm,
Sometimes it's the best medicine and not out of avoidance, just like feeding the soul with something else.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think working with our hands is important, and not with just technology, but like yeah,
With something.
with art, or I don't know, natural material. Maybe I'll say.
How did your heart meet that choice, like that act of devotion?
I don't know. It was one of those moments that just I knew it's what I needed. And then when I got going, I was like, "Oh, yeah, this is what I really needed." It was very helpful. Uh,
Mm,
and then once I got to making myself a few things, I started making some quilts for my friends, and that felt really good. So then I started to feed that part of me that still loves to give.
mm.
Received a couple of things for myself, and now I need to give again.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. There is so much comfort in creating with your hands.
Mhm. How do you like to create with your hands?
Um, for a while, when I was working in corporate years ago, I would always say as a joke that I work with processes that are so long and intangible and never end up in anything, so I have to go home and bake. Because
Love that.
there's like input and output, and there's like a reward, and it's clear, and
Yes.
you put that effort in, and something comes out. Doesn't matter if it's pretty or anything. It's just this like actually seeing something, and it does something to us.
Yeah.
And I think beyond intellectualizing everything, and even putting words to everything. The thing that's probably taught me the most about my attachment to things in the past few years has been going to pottery class.
Boom.
It is so meta to make things out of clay. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's just
Like, that's so meta. That's
yeah,
good.
but there's so many places you can fuck up in that
Oh,
process.
yes.
Like literally every step can go wrong until it's done. And the more you hold on and the more you attach and the more tense you are in it, the more it goes wrong.
Mm,
There's just no way. And there's no way of theoretically understanding it
mhm.
and doing it. Every moment that ever clicked was happening at the tips of my fingers. Like there wasn't anything else. Like my muscles were understanding it. My head was like, what actually was going on here? I have no idea. But it did like also expand something in my capacity to like just hold more of the unknown.
Mm.
And also taught me something about my own boundaries.
Oh.
I know I made that was 2 years ago. I made two cups and I finally like I threw them and throwing is hard. And you say, wow, okay, good shape. And then once they've dried up, you then have to kind of polish while the clay's still wet. And I made holes in both of them. And then I tried to repair one and it just got even worse. And at that point, I was like, actually, you know what? I had nothing left. And these are classes you pay for, and teacher is amazing. And it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna take all this clay and put it away in a bag and clean up my station and go home. I can't see it go wrong anymore. I just have to step away. And it was so interesting is I remember biking home and I thought, wow, how many times in my life have I run over that boundary? How many times has something gone wrong or even something been asked of me and I've just like, well, I'll just stay here because this is the time allotted or this is the expectation or this is whatever. And I have pushed through. And so, in addition to that kind of heart opening, tactile understanding of life, I think there are also so many lessons in touching things with your hands that if you're paying attention, it's all there.
And in the creative process in general.
Mhm.
I remember in my coaching practice, one of the things I used to have people do was create something and then destroy it. And that
Yeah.
could be like create a playlist and then delete it. And then
Yes.
just to see our attachment to things or our relationship with even death, kind
Mm.
of destruction or things being taken away from us that we've created. There's a real process in that. In clay, I used to have them make like work with Play-Doh, like
Amazing.
kids Play-Doh, but clay is such a beautiful example of that.
Oh,
Because like you said,
yes.
there's so many processes, even if you're working with clay that's not air dry, but you have to put into a kiln, there's so much can happen there. Out of your hands. Like
Out of your hands. I
mm,
love that. That's the thought that I play with a lot too.
mm,
I know I watched this glass blowing competition on Netflix, and there was one person who said they'd gone to a really amazing training, and at the end of the week, he'd asked all of them to go pick their favorite piece, and they're all standing there with their favorite piece, and he goes, "Now you throw it on the ground." And they didn't know this was happening. And I know this person is telling the story with some anxiety, but I think I was hearing exactly what you're saying around, ooh, that's an opportunity to understand your attachment to something. And that's an opportunity to have a conversation with the death of something. And so I really took that story too. In my pottery classes, I mean, that's the beauty of clay. You kind of smash it up and put it away. And I just call it my fuck up bag. And at some point during the end, like towards the end of a course, I'd just take the bag and make something new out of it. And it's this offering of all the moments that it didn't turn out to be anything. But still, there's a plate on our kitchen table that has apples in it.
And
That
it
is
has a great
standing.
story.
Yes, and it's standing on the back of all my fuck ups, basically.
What created from fuck ups. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, art can teach us so much.
Mm,
Creativity can teach us so much. And I think oftentimes we always see like the beautiful finishing piece. We don't
yeah.
see the process. That's why I think, yeah, it's kind of like going back to clips or the what social media does for us, which is like we see the highlight reel of everyone's life, or we see these 2-minute clips or something so short, and we miss the whole process.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, letting yourself be through that whole process. Even if you don't think you're an artist or a creative, you are. I mean, there's a part of you that's always going to be. It doesn't have to be beautiful or perfect or, I don't know, anything. But there's something, yeah. I'm teaching a retreat this weekend and clay is part of it. Just, and it's not anything spectacular. I don't work with clay professionally, but it's like, let's just get our hands on clay and mold it. I don't know, into a funky little plate or like a bowl or a cup or just like a blob. Doesn't matter. Just like getting our hands in clay and seeing what comes from
Mm.
it. I don't think we do it enough.
No, we don't. And it's also a conversation with the piece itself.
Mm.
And I was making these wall pieces. I don't know if you can see them behind me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
And you're sitting there on this table and I'm making them. And I'm kind of like, okay, something isn't working out for me. And with my teacher, we're standing on chairs and we were looking at different perspectives and we were twisting things around. And at some point, I'm like, no, this isn't it. What does the clay want?
Mm.
And when I asked that, all of a sudden, it took me 10 minutes and I figured it out. And there's also that removal, I think, of the more like pretentious or egoic or those kind of storylines that are more about the glory.
Mm.
Something about putting your hands into something is like, well, you actually have to work with
Mm.
whatever it is that you're choosing, whether you're cooking or
Yes.
sewing or drawing, or it has its own life.
Yeah. It's a co creation.
It's a co-creation. Yeah. I think that's part of the beauty. And I guess maybe also part of the medicine. I don't know how you feel about that. There's something about, I think you also talked about how creating for someone else, or there's something about it being outside of us
Mm.
for something else or for somebody else
Mhm.
that also gives a sense of healing, I think, and
Yeah,
growth.
absolutely. Can stand behind that.
Not have the whole world turned around our head all the time.
So good. Mhm.
Mm.
But yeah, I think there's medicine in all of it.
Oh, there is.
Yeah, I can get lost in like doing like too much creation for others and forgetting about my own personal time.
Mm.
Or I've been really good to, I do this thing where I find these practices or these medicines that have changed my life. And I'm like, I want to bring them out into the world. And I had a good friend many years ago say, yeah, but what do you keep for yourself?
Mm.
Like, what's just for you?
Ooh.
And I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's nice to have something just for me. And for me, that's acupuncture.
Yeah.
Just found a new acupuncturist who lives like 20 minutes away.
Oh,
And I just go
amazing.
there and I lay down and I'm like, needle me. Don't even tell me what's wrong with me. Just needle me. Just you. And when I have a deep infatuation with Taoism and traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture, but I've always kept it as a medicine that I go to rather than a medicine that I practice
Mm.
to others. And it's so nice to have that. Um, because I'm so much better at giving than receiving. And that
Yes.
allows me to really just receive the medicine rather than think about, oh, that's a good point. Oh, like,
Mm.
why she chose that point?
Yeah.
Which I can do when I'm in a yoga class. Like, oh, that's a really good transition.
Mm.
Or reading a good essay, like, oh, I love this word. I like this. Circle it, and bring it back into my own life somehow. I can't do that with acupuncture.
So you just get to receive.
You just get to receive. And it's so, so nice.
Yeah. I do that with massages.
Mm, mm,
There's really something, as you say, about that action of here's the moment for me
yeah.
and just lying down and take care of me.
Especially as people who hold space for other people. I don't know how you feel about this or what your relationship is to it, but I've grown more and more discerning over the years of like who I let hold me.
Mhm.
I'm very particular. And so when I realize that I've really let my like when I was at acupuncture the other day, my eyes, I wasn't emotional, like I didn't feel emotional, but my eyes were just like weeping. Um, and I knew that that was a sign that I had let myself go in a good way, not let
Mhm.
myself go, but really surrendered to the space and the healing that this person was helping me with.
Mm.
Um, And so it
Yeah.
feels so nice to find someone that you can just land in, not be anybody, not have to gain any knowledge from it, just be held so you can heal. Oh.
That's peace.
It is peace.
I
Mm,
love that. Yeah, I mean, I definitely share in your experience, and my year has also been a roller coaster in different ways, and I can relate to also what you were saying before, that
mm,
sometimes the medicine that is so close to our heart doesn't feel like it.
mhm,
Or for me, it was also that I felt very clearly that I needed to be held in it rather than practice it and holding myself, because there was so much happening that there also are those moments when you're going through difficult things where you need to be held to really access that emotion, whether or not it comes out, it's tears or twitches or
right.
coughs or, however it manifests itself. It isn't always
Yeah, in a variety of
exorcisms.
ways.
Yeah. However that sense of opening looks
Be
like for
gentle.
us. Yeah. Where I'm not one for constant exorcisms for sure, but um yeah, there's really something about that, letting ourselves be held and to receive.
Mm,
But I also really lingered with what your friend had said about keeping things for you.
mhm,
I'm like very slowly making it through Women Who Run with the Wolves. It is
mm.
a very wordy book.
Yeah.
And for someone who likes words, I'm still struggling
Yeah,
to
I
make
struggled with
it.
that one too. I don't think I ever finished it.
No, I think most people say
Yeah.
that. But I'm, the little pieces I'm picking up, I think it's in that, maybe I'm making it up, but I'm pretty sure it's in that book where they talk about the responsibility you have or the role you can play of sharing your conclusions or your learnings as you're evolving.
Mm,
And this is something I have so much inquiry about, that because I feel like we commoditize that a lot today in our society. Like every single tool that somebody picks up and feels like they master in their own practice, they make a program out of it to teach it to somebody else. And I'm not saying this from a place of criticism. I'm just
mm,
very curious. Like, what is that? Why? And especially, I think, being somebody, as you also do, who holds space,
mm,
I find that that balance of like something being holy for me, my personal practice, and for my craft
Mm.
can be really different things. And when they leak, it's not it's not that good. Like, some things are not meant to be me sharing with anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Some things are a personal, private medicine, or it doesn't have to be private, but yeah,
But also not
kind of the
taught.
same tool. Like, I don't know. Because my breathwork practice is a healing medicine for me.
Mm.
And the way I move through it is different than how I move other people through it because it's different when you take your own medicine
It is.
or guide yourself through your own medicine. But yeah, the leaking, something about that word really hit. Things start to leak. Mm.
Hmm. Thought.
Tension behind it too, like the intention of why you do what you do.
Yes.
Like, why do you get into it?
Mhm.
Mm. I mean, for me, like to own a business in the wellness world is not, to own a business in general is not recommended to everybody.
No, it's
It,
a wild ride.
yeah. Actually, if I lived probably in a bigger city or in a country or a place where English was the first language, I don't know if I would solely rely on my own business. But that's what I do here because I'm not fluent in Swedish. I can't just go pick up a job anywhere.
Mm.
It's not that easy. And so there's a part of me that's grateful for that because it's made me have to really lay a foundation and grow a business in different ways. Your business, which is your holy medicine practice that you offer to other people, does have a monetary exchange.
It does.
And how do you do that still with a deep intention?
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm,
I did a series of, like, co-creation calls this spring around different topics, but one conversation I had with a couple of leaders that I know who work with self-leadership, and we were talking about that a little bit. What intention we put behind spreading our knowledge and
mm,
making it into something that somebody else can receive or be held in. And it was really interesting. One of the things that stayed with me after that conversation was how much the intention of giving people their own experience rather than serving them my conclusions is important.
mm.
And when you can move from that experience, whether you do it as a business owner or not, or as part of a team somewhere, it's more impactful
For
for
sure.
whoever is receiving it, but I also feel like it's more durable for you as or for us as space holders.
Mm,
That's not to say we don't teach people things, but I worked in learning in corporate for a long time, and if there's one thing I take away is that however much I ever prepared something, I absolutely never knew what somebody was going to take away.
for sure.
Never. Sometimes you go around the room and you're like, "How in the world do you draw this conclusion from whatever it is that we did today?" I had no idea where it came from. It was so shocking. And I think about that a lot. I think for me, that ties in with that intention of actually any space, if we can make it about holding space for people to have their own experiences and we can guide them in finding their own conclusions. At least for me, that serves me with a sense of integrity around not being leaky. Like
Yeah.
that, I think just thinking about the breath practice, which we both hold space for and we both practice in our own different ways. And as you say, like the way I hold space for myself in that, of course, has similarities because it's still a breath practice. It's not wildly different,
Yeah.
but it's still different.
Yeah, of course.
I still make different choices, and holding a room for someone else isn't the same way you do it for you. There's something about directing the intention that way, at
Mhm.
least from me, where I focus on making sure the other person gets to have their own experience and less making it about me passing on whatever it is that I may or may not know.
I think that's why I love to, like, when I teach and when I, whether it's a training or a class, and I think you're really similar in this way too, it's never a lecture, it's always a dialogue. And I remember I was co-teaching with a teacher, a Reiki training with a teacher of mine, and that really stirred her that I wasn't telling them this is the way it is. I was like, well, what is it for you?
Mm,
Like, this is how it comes through for me. How does it come through for you? And she was like, a little taken aback by the way in which I did that because it's like, no, this is, you have to tell them. And like, oh, no, no, I don't know. I don't know how it comes through. Mm.
no.
And I think that can be annoying for some people. Also, in the way I give answers, which are never really answers. Like, I usually just a returning of a question. But yeah, I think it's quite empowering to let people come to their own conclusion or have their own experience or understanding of something. Mhm. Because it's so often that we go external for answers and not internal, and especially through the practice of breath work. I mean, the whole hope is that it brings you into your body and closer to yourself and opens your heart. And, that's where
Mm,
you hear it all the time. That's where the answers are.
yeah.
There's so many beautiful things around us that I think can help us get in and find those answers or inspire something, especially like a different way of thinking or doing things. And there's so much wisdom in the body.
Yes.
Yeah. And I do truly believe that we know our bodies better than anyone else. I think people can see things that I don't always see because I'm living in this experience.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
why I love to work with a mentor because she calls me out on things and I'm like, oh yeah, very true. Yeah. But there's something so deeply personal about my relationship with my body.
Mm,
No one else gets.
yeah.
And I think breath work helps me tend to that and rebuild that relationship in a way no other practice has done for me.
Mm.
Yoga was kind of like that in the beginning, and then I found breath work, and that was almost like another step into it. All breath work practices, not solely the one, that two-part breath work that you and I both teach, but a lot of different breath practices really help me come into that present moment.
Mm. I
Yeah.
agree. I do yoga from time to time in periods. I think movement has always been something that helps me, but committing to breath work definitely was something that allowed me a tool to cultivate that relationship beyond also, how do I say this? Well, there is something about the somatic practice where you actually have to involve your body, not, and I put this in situation mark, not just sit and meditate, which
Yeah.
is fantastic for some people, but
Mhm.
not for me. And it's just, I mean, it's all just tools to get to the same place. For some
Exactly.
people, it's yoga. For some people, it's the breath. For some people, it's sitting down on a pillow and getting there. And
Sure.
great. I mean,
Bless them.
congratulations. Bless those people. Breath work definitely has helped me also in that.
Mhm.
And, and in getting close to it. And on that said, as you say, we're still collective beings and
Mhm.
we still benefit from somebody else's gaze
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
and them mirroring things back. Even the things that don't resonate.
Yeah. Mhm.
Sometimes just that, oh, actually, no, that doesn't feel good.
Mhm.
That's also a great way to connect to the resonance with ourselves, I think.
I think that's where good conversation and good dialogue comes in. I love to have conversations with people who don't think the way I think. It's very
Yes.
it's very eye-open and expanding, and I don't have to leave with, my mind changed. but I love being able to have two opposing views sitting together at a table, discussing things, not having to prove anything. Just like, I wonder what made you come to that. Like, what within you? It's kind of like what we said of like, instead of a clip of that 2 minutes, it's like, what led up to you even, I don't know, imagining that or believing that, or where's it come from?
Mm,
Not to change your mind. I'm just so curious.
I love that as an intention. I think we need a lot more of that in the
Yeah.
world.
Well,
So
it's
much
like the
more.
whole world to be the same. It's never going to be.
Oof.
So how do we live in harmony with things that aren't like us?
What do you think we're missing to be able to do that more?
Dialogue, conversation, like true sit down, have a conversation. At least I think that's one piece because I think so much is missed by what we think another means.
Mm,
I say something, and when we're in conversation, we can say, "What do you mean by that? This is what you just said. This is how I interpret what you just said. Is that what you mean? Tell me more." Like, and all of that happens in dialogue and conversation, whether it's mediated by another person, whether it's just two people, whether it's two communities. It's like, I feel like there's so much healing that could happen if we just sit down and talk to each other.
mm.
We have to pass the baton. So the only one with the baton is the one talking. People aren't interrupted because that's another big thing of like, that's why it's so nice to have a mediator,
Mm,
like somewhere where we're like, "Wait, let's not shout over each other. Let's really listen, ears open."
mm.
You don't have to change your mind. You don't have to believe what they're saying, but can you just give them a chance to explain how they feel?
Yeah.
And I think then that opens up like a heart connection of some kind.
Mm,
It grounds like the energy of a room when that happens. Um, yeah, things become more expansive, less contractive, less narrow minded, and more wider perspective. I don't know. I think good dialogue, good conversation is a really good medicine.
I totally agree. And then I also can't help but wonder, how do we not be defensive in those spaces, in those conversations? So
Mm,
even just looking at the climate that is today, which is extremely polarizing,
yeah.
and a lot of formats of conversation are really about convincing the other or winning something over. And I guess that's something I've been curious about for a long time, both intrapersonally, like what do we need in ourselves to be able to sit in those rooms
Mm,
and not fall victim to our own defense systems or aggression or fear or whatever it is that comes up as somebody says something we're disagreeing with or we can't share a view of. In the last period of time when I worked in corporate, I had a lot of conversations with people who work with self-led organizations, and they're based on a completely different set of principles where every conversation around, and I mean, not all of our conversations have to be about solutions, right? It also can
right.
just be
Yeah.
connection, as you
Yeah.
say, and heart opening. So, but in this context, usually when you're working, you're moving forward on tasks or you're having to agree on paths or plans. And part of, there are a few principles in here, but one is consent and not consensus,
Mhm.
which sticks with me as something I take with me. So, this principle in these conversations is basically saying, here's a problem we're solving. Each person gets to have a say, but they can't say no from preference. They can only say no if they think this is actually going to endanger the solution.
Okay.
So, if it doesn't matter what task it is, which
Mm,
means you have to put the thing ahead of yourself. Like, it's not about your ego, it's not about your expertise. It's not about what you think is best. It's what is best for the situation.
Mhm.
And you may object based on that. If not, you get to just say, okay, go ahead, whoever's responsible.
Mm.
And I mean, this is, of course, a very contained room, but I sometimes think about that principle of just what it takes in us, of kind of centering something else than our worldview or how we would like things to be or the things that we're afraid of,
Mm.
and allowing for more ways to approach life or the world or whatever it is that we're talking about,
Yeah.
um, in conversation. Because this principle is something that supports people in having different conversations.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a question that's been alive for me for a long time because I keep looking at the world and thinking, wow, okay, when you think it can't be any more polarizing, it just
It
is
is.
spiraling downwards fast.
Yeah. I think also being, you know, something invoking a defensive response within you is, as my somatic teacher would say, really good information,
Mm.
right? It also points us towards what we care about, what matters to us. So it's not all negative of like where I'm calcified, like where my
Mhm.
thoughts might be calcified and I can't see it any other way. It
Yeah.
also shows us like what matters to us. And I don't think we have to necessarily get rid of feeling defensive, and adding a little curiosity or a little compassion, I think, can expand any contraction that defensiveness brings us into. Because I can get
Mm.
defensive for sure.
Mm. We
And
all can.
yeah. And then it's like, oh, wow. Okay. I got really riled up by that. I wonder what that's about. Or what is it poking in me? And what can I do about it?
Mm. How can I have a conversation with it?
Yeah. Am I willing to?
Mm.
Am I willing for my mind to be changed even?
Yeah.
And that doesn't even have to happen, but am I willing to have more compassion for the situation?
Mm.
Um, am I willing to be neutral? Not even you don't have to go to the other side of the spectrum.
No.
Am I willing to be neutral
Mm.
of like 8 billion people on the planet? We're not all going to think alike. Different cultures, different upbringings, different traumas, different, I don't know, worldviews, different algorithms,
Yeah.
all of it.
We're all we're all in different
Mm.
calculations.
Yeah. So how can you tend to your own shit, your own stuff, and like be a part of the world?
Mm.
Mm.
I actually love that as a gift from, at least for me, from the breathwork practice, and definitely also from you as a teacher of really learning to observe, as you say, the reactions, the calcifications, the tensions, the flow.
Mhm.
I'm not saying either thing with the judgment of whether it's good or bad, but just be in observation, and then beyond that, also being in dialogue with it in terms of, just as you were saying before, what is this telling me?
Mhm.
Or maybe it isn't, and how do I want to dance with it or
Mhm.
converse with it in a way, I think, that isn't about removal, just as you were on to, like, yeah,
Mhm.
we're still going to be defensive. Some things might feel hard for us, and it's okay that they're there. There's a lot of this sense of like evening ourselves out in self-development dialogue where we're supposed to be this regulated, peaceful,
Enlightenment.
enlightened unit. It's like, well, that's not life.
We're also on Earth.
We're also on
You know?
Earth in a
And a
human
body
body.
that
Yeah.
changes and aches and pains and grows and like, yeah, it's, I don't know. The more I'm telling you, the more I listen to these near death experiences, the more I'm really believing this is a school. Like we're here to learn and to grow. And we one of the only ways we do so is through contrast.
Mm.
Yeah.
Ooh, tell me more about that. Contrast. Like that word.
I don't remember where I read it, but it hit really home this spring of to know great grief is to know great love. It's not that they're opposite of one another, um, but they do go hand in hand. It's like to be able to grieve so deeply can be such a beautiful sign that I loved so deeply.
Mm.
Um, and maybe I wouldn't have known that without some grief mixed in. Sometimes I know better what I like by knowing what I don't like.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easier for me to be like, okay, well, I know I don't like this, but.
Mm. I like that.
Sometimes I learn how I like to be facilitated or how I like to facilitate by ways in which situations I've been in that were like, oh, I don't like that.
Mm.
Um, Contrast.
Contrast. And we want it.
Yeah, we need it.
Mm.
We need it.
Yes.
We're, in my opinion, I have a lot of opinions, but in my opinion, this whole conversation is my opinion. Like I always say, ask me tomorrow, and it might be a totally different story because life happens and changes
Mm.
us fully. But in my opinion, we're not meant to be all of us walking around Earth enlightened. Like we need to have things that move us and change us and um, sometimes feel hurtful and painful uh, in order to get the full spectrum living of what
Yes.
it's like to be in this body. Yeah, yeah, and to experience other people.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
often think about that, how there's such a big difference between understanding something in thought
Mm,
and having that meet your physical reality.
mm,
And it can be really easy to sound wise and have good ideas and intricate understanding of things, and then walk out the door and treat somebody like shit
oh,
or yourself like shit. And to your point, like that contrast is, for me at least, what shows me where there is dissonance between. I mean, first of all, there are many things I don't understand, but
ditto.
definitely, definitely where there might be dissonance between the things that I understand and the things that I am. Like,
Things that I'm saying, the things that I'm doing.
so yeah, definitely between that. And usually I can feel it when it lands in my body. I don't know. For me, a lot of times it's also this, you never know what direction it comes from, right? Sometimes you have this really conceptual understanding of something and you kind of reel it down into your body and you're like, okay, how am I going to choose to move with this?
Mhm.
And sometimes I find that I move with the contrasts in life and then I translate it to words or to understanding. And neither is better, or it's just they both exist. But I often think about that difference and how much actually, as you're saying, contrast is necessary to understand. Like where where is there more expansion? Where is there alignment? Where isn't there alignment for me? And to your point, like, ooh, it can be sticky and hard and sad and ooh,
It can be both. It can also be very, going back into that word enlightening,
it can.
be very expansive and like perspective shifting, like, oh, or it can be like, oof. I find it can be like a gut punch or a heart opening.
Mm. A heart opening, which is where we started.
Mhm. We'll see.
Opening our
Well,
hearts through our
we
hands.
knew we'd get there. We weren't sure
There,
how, but
no, but there's always a closing of the loop. Somehow, somehow. You never know. We could go on, but let's see if we can. We can never, but let's make a brave attempt. what what is the invitation emerging for you? For anyone who has listened to our meandering, what's the invitation of how or what to integrate something that they've heard today? What might they do? Not just go beyond saying, "Oh, that's interesting." Gonna send this to a friend and think
I
about
feel like
it.
I need a shirt that says, "Ooh, that's interesting," or a hat. Put something into practice, like go pick up some clay.
Go pick up some clay.
Um, I don't know. It's a beautiful question and a hard one.
It is.
Everyone listening to it is gonna
They
hear
can
it
come
a
up with
different
their
way.
own. Yeah, they might come up with their own thing.
Mhm. And then they can tell us.
They can tell us, what did you do with this?
And we go back to giving them the what do you think?
Just respond with a question. Hmm. I'm something that's like sticking for me is contrast.
Mm,
I think we learn to fear that a lot, like all this bouncing against things in different ways, or yeah. And maybe there's just an invitation to see if there's a way to be curious about it.
mhm.
Aside from putting your hands in clay, also
Yeah.
always do that.
Always do that.
Always do
Or
that.
not even clay. It's not like I do that every day. When you say that too, what also came to mind is, are there any are there any difficult conversations that you've been putting off having, um, that really need to happen, mm, for both hearts, for both people,
Ooh.
or neutralizing something or getting more information? Yeah. So is there a difficult conversation you've been putting off that you're willing to have?
Wow. That feels like a big one.
Mhm.
Mm.
Go for it.
Go for it.
And let us know how it goes.
Come back and maybe you join some breath work after that.
For sure, I might need it. I don't know.
Maybe.
Notice what you need beforehand, what's going on during, what you need after.
Mm.
But yeah, that's just when you said contrast, like inviting it in or noticing where it's already happening in your life, like naturally, because contrast is naturally happening in our lives.
Mm.
Mhm. And yeah, conversation.
Conversation inside and out.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be external. That's very true.
Mm.
Or a conversation that you haven't been willing to have with yourself.
There are so many ways in which we can converse with ourselves and with others, where we can invite that contrast that occurs in our life to guide our questions, to deepen our practices. If we listen closely to what our hands tell us and our breath and the tension and relaxation in our body, if we let ourselves be moved by it and with it instead of repressing or ignoring it, it can help us not just to create more connection, but also growth. So if you've been listening to this and you have felt contrast, and there have been sparks inside, and there have been new sensations and inner conversations, share some of your experiences with us, or share this episode with somebody else who needs it, or both. And if you want to support more conversations about learning from trees, being creative, and expanding our interactions with life, don't forget to follow on your favorite podcast platform and give us a rating. That's how more people can join this conversation. Thank you so much for listening.